For those of you who are in the hair fan club, 3-strand braid. I couldn't help it. Yeah, and I'm sitting here on my bed in my pajamas making a video on my original YouTube channel on about a topic that I don't put on my other YouTube channel. But this is my shtick. There's a lot of my videos on my other channel of me and my PJs. I I have no shame. Some people would say, or maybe it's just that I'm not that vain. Anyways, the cat's probably going to be a pain in the butt. This is actually a serious topic. This video is actually not going to be about ongoing drama. This is actually a serious topic. And it's something that I I actually made a video about this topic last year at about this time, but I was driving in my truck going from North Carolina back to Houston, and I was still pining over a certain someone, and so there's part of that video that it had to do with personal stuff, and that's why it never got published. But on the serious topic is why why do I feel that it is necessary to carry a firearm? I told you he was going to start it. No, stop. Why do I carry a firearm? But not only that, I also carry a knife too. I do. I carry both the majority of the time. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Why do I do that? Well, it's really quite simple because I'm I I like to have the ability to defend myself. Period. End of story. It has nothing to do with the fact that I am female. It just has to do with the fact that I'd like to have the ability to defend myself, and I'd rather not be doing it with my my teeth and nails if I have to. And so this is one of the things that I actually got into a Facebook, what my dad would call a pissing contest with some people one time on this topic right here. I also, and I'm not trying to brag, it's merely a statement of fact. I also have a second degree black belt in a martial art. Now, I haven't done any kind of training in quite a long time, but I do. I did it at one time. Okay? I did. So, all that being said, for all of the training that I have had, all of the self-defense classes that I have taken, the one thing that I am very, very cognizant of is that I am not going to win in a hand to hand altercation with a man. Not going to happen. Unless he's a very, very small man. Then it might be different. But, and I really get worked up when I see these people that really have no concept that they've probably never been in a physical altercation themselves. And they will say, and sometimes it's a marketing ploy. It's, we're going to teach you, we're going to teach you or your wives or your daughters, we're going to teach them how these things, and they're going to be able to, if they're ever attacked, they're going to be able to win. That is absolutely BS. And anybody who is giving a self-defense class to women and says that kind of garbage is is full of BS, because that is not what's going to happen in the real world. It's not going to happen. And I'm going to give you an example. Long, 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 long time ago, I worked for a police department. Yes, I was actually a certified police officer in the state of Georgia for about 2.5 years. I sure was. And we had to have so many hours of in service every month. And so one time we had an in service, and it was about, what do you do? How do you keep someone from getting your weapon out of your holster? Okay. And there were two of the detectives that were teaching the class. One of them was a guy named Pat. I don't remember their last names anymore. One of them was a guy named Pat. Pat was he's probably about 5'10, about, I'd say he's probably about 180. They, we were able to use, we were on a college campus, and we were able to use if you were an employee of the campus of the college, you could use any gym on the campus. And the police department was right next door to a gym. So Pat and the other guy that taught this class, a guy named Jimmy, they went to the gym like every day. Okay. Jimmy was about 6'2", and probably about, he was a little, I mean, it's hard to say. Let's just say he was about 210, 220. He wasn't, he wasn't a super thick guy, but he wasn't really skinny either. So it comes to our, you know, time to do this stuff. And a lot of people are working with Pat, and I draw Jimmy as my opponent for me to protect my sidearm from. And I'm going to tell you exactly how it went down. The goal of this exercise was to keep whoever you were fighting with, to keep them from being able to get your weapon out of the holster for 2 minutes, because for whatever reason they chose 2 minutes. Maybe it was because on our campus, if you were actually able to get on your radio and get a call out, you could expect your backup to get there to take about 2 minutes. So you better be able to defend yourself for 2 minutes. So this is exactly what happened. So we're in this big room, and it's all, it's a typical, almost like a martial arts dojo. It's got the thick mats on the floor and everything. And so Pat is keeping time. And I'm on one side of this. I think it was like a 15-foot square they had taped off. I'm on one side of it. Jimmy's on the other, right? Pat says, go, and clicks the stopwatch. And this is exactly how it went down. Jimmy bum rushed me. Bum rushed me. He was on me in about a second. He crossed that distance quicker than I could blink my eyes. Okay. And what he did was he grabbed me by the back of the shirt in one hand, and the belt, the back of my belt with the other, picked me up and slammed me to the ground with him on top of me. Okay. Knocks the wind out of me, which, kind of makes you see stars. All I could do was I curled I curled around. I'm right handed, so my holster is on the right side. I curled around, I literally went into like the fetal position, curling around the fake gun that's in the holster on my belt. And this guy, Jimmy, proceeds to like peel my arms off like he's peeling a banana, and has that replica out of the holster in under a minute. In under a minute. It's probably more, it's probably like maybe 30 seconds. I mean, I might actually be overestimating. It's been 30 some odd years ago. Okay. And and the whole goal of it was he takes, he takes it out, he peels me off of it, and he's literally holding both my arms at bay with one hand, and he takes the other hand and he pulls the replica out and he sticks it to my head and he says, "Bang, you're dead." Okay. So when we're done, then he, then he then he becomes, the nice guy that he was, and is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like sitting there just trying to fill my lungs with air, to be honest with you. Um, and both of them actually said, "You actually didn't do too bad, considering, because at least you had the the forethought to try to curl around the holster, even though you just had the wind knocked out of you." Okay. I lasted 15, somewhere between 15 and 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Yeah. That's what happens when a woman tries to get into a hand to hand confrontation with a man. There's a video out there. It's an old video. I saw it here again. It's got to be 30 plus years old. And it is a video from a dash cam, one of the old dash cams, of a female police officer who pulled a man over. And the man had his 10-year-old daughter with him. And she runs him, and it turns out he's got outstanding warrants for all kinds of stuff. And he figures out that she's got him. She goes back to her car, she gets the warrants, she goes back out there, and she's like, "I need you to turn around, put your hands behind your back." And she might have been about my size. I don't know. I mean, it's old, it's very old, grainy footage. And this guy just punches her in the face and knocks her down. And then you can't see what's going on. All you can see is she goes down, he's bending over her, and you just see his fist doing this. Okay. And his daughter, his 10-year-old daughter, is standing there the whole time watching this happen. He beat this police officer so bad it broke, like, these bones in the orbital, like in 4 to 5 places. Okay. He beat her unconscious, and then he jumped in his car and he drove away. And the only reason why that female police officer is still alive is because somebody else came down the road, because this is long before cell phones. Somebody else came down the road on this highway and saw her laying in front of her car and rendered aid. That's what happens. And she was a police officer and she was armed. He could have pulled he could have pulled that gun and stuck it to her head and gone, "Bang, you're dead," like Jimmy, simulated with me. So now that I've told you this story and I've gotten pretty excited about it and somewhat upset thinking about it, this is why it gets me riled up when I see these people that are like, "Oh, we can teach your wives and daughters that how they can win a fight with a man." No, no. Number one, these are the things you should learn. These are the things you should learn, or you should teach your wife or your daughters. Number one, I'm going to do them in order of desirability. Order of desirability. Number one, situational awareness. Don't put yourself into a situation where you may have to get into an altercation with a man. Teach your daughters how to be situationally aware. Okay. Don't, and this applies to high school students and college students. Don't go out by yourself and get blitzed because you're going to get in trouble. And it breaks my heart every time I see one of these stories of these young girls, like 14 years old, you know, getting into a situation where they're plied with alcohol and then taken advantage of by multiple people, not just one. Okay. going back. But we're talking about actually if you're not inebriated or impaired, you're actually fully in your mental faculties. Number one, situational awareness. Don't put yourself into the situation. Don't do it. The number one thing you want to do, avoid having a physical confrontation if possible with anyone actually, but we're going to talk we're talking, male to female here, okay? Or female to male. Avoid. That's your number one. Avoid. Avoid it. Number two. Number two. Uh if at all possible, carry a firearm or a knife and know how to use them. And like practice. Practice, because what happens when you're in that high stress situation? People freeze. They freeze. They don't know what to do. Okay? They don't know what to do. And at the end of all this, I'm going to tell you a little story about that right there. Okay? Another little story. Train so that you have the decision making apparatus to know when to pull said defensive weapon or when to just avoid. But number one, just avoid. Avoid. Number two, have some kind of training. Have a firearm. I'm all for firearms. I really am. Okay. But that being said, you can't let somebody get that close to you, because then you're never going to have a chance to pull it. But you better train so that you know when it's appropriate. And I'm always of the mentality of better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. And that'll come in when I tell you my story. Number three, if you don't have access to a weapon and you can't avoid the fight, what you want to do, ladies or gentlemen who are training your ladies or your daughters or whoever, is you strike to stun. Well, best case scenario is you get in a lucky shot and you incapacitate them and then you run away. I'm just, don't hang around. You don't hang around. You don't. You get the hell out of Dodge and get to a safe place. Okay. That's your best case scenario. You get lucky and you can incapacitate. Chances are it's going to be temporary. I'm just going to let you know. The preponderance of the evidence is what usually happens is it's more like you're going to stun them. But they're going to, if somebody's that intent on you, they're probably expecting you to hit them. They're prepared for it. You're not. Keep in mind, you're the victim here. The aggressor knows exactly what they're going to do. You're the one that's caught by surprise. The idea is you have to train yourself not to be caught by surprise. You have to be aware, and you got to be able to turn that on. Okay? You strike to stun so you can flee. You don't hang around. Don't hang around. If it is possible, strike to stun, run away. Run away. Okay? Run away. All right? Now we get into the not so desirable stuff. What happens? What happens if you can't run away? Well, then chances are, prepare yourself for some very traumatic things to happen to you. Your best case scenario is you just get beat up. Your next that's your best case scenario. If you can't get away, you're just gonna get beat up. That's your best one. Okay, so you know where I'm going with this. If you're watching this video, you know where I'm going with this. The two even less desirable things are that you are assaulted in a certain way, okay, and then your attacker has gotten what he wanted and he leaves you, or you are unalived. Right? That's your scenario. And it drives me insane when I see these people that are like, oh, if you're a martial artist, you can do this, that, and the other. It's biology, people. Testosterone is a performance enhancing substance. Okay. Males have testosterone in their bodies their entire lives. So they have greater muscle mass, greater strength, their bones are denser. Okay. It is what it is. You don't even want to get into a fight with somebody your own size. Okay. Unless it's some way, way, way out there outlier of you just happen to be the most skilled, absolute, you've been in the gym, you're just, you're muscle, you're mostly muscle, and you just happen to have an attacker that's some little wimpy soy boy that you can hit him once and he's, in the nose, and he sits down and he cries for his mother. Chances are it's not going to happen, because that kind of person isn't going to be the kind of person who's trying to attack women. The kinds that attack women are the ones that know that they can get away with it. This shit makes me shake thinking about it. Okay. So it really angers me when I see these people that are like, no, you can train your daughters in self-defense and martial arts. And no, trust me, I used to have a pretty fast round kick, and my best case scenario would be uh, maybe see if I can get that round kick off and take out a knee, but even that's dubious. Elbows, ladies, elbows, elbow to the face, run away. Your elbow is really tough. If you punch somebody like this, you'll break your hand. I have stress fractures in this hand from hitting a heavy bag. Not that long ago. I still have bruising. It's still tender because I was being a jackass and showing off and hitting a heavy bag without gloves. Yeah, stress fractures in my hand. Don't hit somebody with a fist. Elbow. If you can reach a nose, a an elbow slam to the bridge of the nose will ring somebody's bell, and then you run away. Don't count on your phone. Okay. Everybody's like, well, I got my phone, I'm safe. Nope. uh Average response time across the entire United States is 7 to 22 minutes from the time you get a 911 call out to the time that somebody gets there to you. Think about that. Jimmy, my old coworker, was able to take me down in less than 30 seconds. Imagine what he could have done in 7 minutes. Imagine what he could do in 22 minutes. Okay. It's not pretty. It's not a pretty picture. That's why I carry a gun. So I'm going to tell you about how you better be prepared mentally to know when to pull that weapon and when to use it. Okay. Back in March, while I was still in Houston, I went out for a jog. I went out for a run because I was feeling a little stressed out. And I was like, I'm going to go for a run. You know, exercise always makes me feel better. So I have one of those belly band kind of things. It's like a really thick nylon and elastic belt, and it's got a bunch of little hook and eye closure. I swear to God, it's almost like my grandmother, when back in the day, my grandmother used to wear a girdle. It's like that, but it's got pockets in it. And so I had my 380 right here in the front, and I had it open carrying because I was running through a not so nice part of town. So I was actually more worried about two-legged predators. And if you present yourself as a hard target, then they tend to leave you alone. So I'm getting near the end of my run. I've been running, I don't know how long, 2.5. I think I was just over 2.5 miles, and I had decided that I was going to go back to whose house, because that's who I was living with at the time. And I got my phone, in another pocket, and I have my earphones on, and I start hearing this dog barking. I don't hear that well, people. Okay, but at the time, I could hear better than I can now. Okay, so I turn and I see this, what looks to be like a shaggy Rottweiler, coming out of the front door of this house. Okay, so I stop because I've always been taught you don't run from a charging dog because that just triggers them to come after you. You stop and you stand your ground. All right. So I stop and I'm thinking to myself, this happens in this entire thing happened in about 3 seconds. Okay. I'm running along the side of the road that this house is on, and these yards weren't that big. So I hear this dog barking. I stop. I look that way, and it was that way. And I see this dog coming out the front door of this house. The front door is wide open. And I think to myself, surely it's on a lead. And I'm kind of backing slowly toward the middle of the road because there was a car parked on the road in front of me. I was going to have to go around it anyways. And I think to myself, this is what you think. You don't want to accept what's about to happen. I think to myself, surely it's on a, some kind of chain or leash or something, right? And it comes around, it had to like run through the front porch of this house, and it comes around the corner. And when it gets to about the middle of the yard of this house, I can tell there's no leash, there's no chain, there's no lead, there's no nothing. And I'm kind of backing away, and I got my water bottle. I had my water bottle in my left hand because I'm smart enough to know I'm right-handed. So I didn't when I'm doing stuff like this, nothing is in my right hand. Thank God. Because I would have had to, thank God. So then I think to myself, well, maybe this dog has been trained to stay in the yard. Okay. Uh about another second, maybe half a second goes by, and the dog is now in the road. And all I can see is teeth. And in a fraction of a second, I had to make a decision. Am I going to be attacked? Am I going to allow this dog to attack me? Or am I going to use the means that I have on me to defend myself? I opted for number two. And so I literally one-handed, and this is what I'm saying, how when you're under this kind of pressure, you don't think. You don't think. This is why you have to practice and practice and practice so that you don't have to think about it. So it's reflexive. This dog is 3 feet away from me. And I finally make the decision, I'm not going to have my leg torn off. And I grab my 380 and literally come up, out, one-handed, because I'm still holding the damn water bottle in my left hand. That's what I'm talking about. It never occurred to me to drop the water bottle. So I come out of this belly band, quite literally come on target, single hand. And soon as the muzzle is in line, I pulled the trigger. I don't know if I hit the dog or not. That's the thing. I don't know if I did. I do know that I saw a puff of dust come out of the pavement of this person's driveway, and the dog turned tail and ran back into the house. And so I'm freaking out, freaking out. And there's a person going by in a car, and there's two guys down on the two houses over, and they're, and I'm backing up, and I'm trying to call the ex-boyfriend to say, holy crap, this just happened to me. And he doesn't answer his phone. So I call his son because the son was over. They were working on a truck in the driveway. And the son answers his phone. And I'm like, put your dad on. So and at this point, I'm kind of talking to these two guys, and they're saying, was it that black dog? And I'm like, yeah, it was that black dog. And I'm thinking, so I end up on the phone with the ex-boyfriend, and I tell him what's going on. He's like, well, let me wash my hands and I'll be down there. I didn't even know where I was. And I didn't have my glasses on because I was running, and I don't jog with my glasses on. So I had to get to the end of the street to read the street sign. And by the time, honest to God, by the time I got done talking to him, I was already on his street, and he was like, no, I see you coming around the corner. I had to make a decision that quickly. That whole thing might not have even happened in 3 seconds. It could have been, I mean, I don't know how long it takes a dog to run from that distance. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I wasn't going to get my damn leg ripped off. Of train. If you're going to have a firearm, train with it. And that doesn't just mean going to the range and shooting at a paper target. Okay? It's called unload it completely, have somebody double check it, make sure that it is absolutely 100% clear, and then practice doing stuff like that. Having to rip it out of your waistband and bring it on target over and over and over again. You're not going to think. This is a dog. This is a dog. This wasn't somebody trying to rob me or beat me or something else. This was a dog trying to bite me my leg off. You're not going to win in a fight. So, moral of this story, it's a half an hour video. That's long enough. People have short attention spans. Okay. Moral of this story is, ladies, don't think you're going to get into a fight with a man and you're going to win it, because you're not. Your chances of winning that fight are like 1%. 1%. Okay. Get real. You're not going to win a fight. You're not going to win a fight with a man. I had that proven to me. Thankfully, it was in a training environment. Some women aren't so lucky. Okay. I don't care what kind of tricks you have, what dirty tricks you have. Trust me, I got some damn dirty ass tricks when it comes to this kind of stuff. Just because I did do martial arts for so long. All right. Dirty tricks. I am not above using dirty tricks to uh, allow myself room to retreat. There is no shame in that. I would rather retreat than be beaten or assaulted another way or unalived. Okay, so that's one moral. The other one is, train for these kind of situations. Think about them. Even if you're just sitting there, okay, if you just say, okay, I'm just sit here for 10 minutes, I'm just going to think about what if what if myself all the time, wherever I'm at, doesn't matter. I always know where the exits are. I always know what around me I can take cover if I have to. I'm a worst case scenario thinker. I absolutely am. Because what happens is everybody just assumes it's never going to happen to them. And then they don't think about it. And then when it happens to them, they don't know how to act. Why do you think the military and the police train? It's for that reason. Because when you're under stress, your brain shuts down. Your brain shuts down. Like I told you, all I saw was teeth. That was the thing that my mind locked onto. The first was Surely not. But that was, that's called normalcy bias. Surely not. Nobody would just let a vicious dog roam free in a suburban neighborhood. That's the first thing that went through my mind. And then I had to say, "Oh no, uh, it's actually exactly what you think it is. This dog is free and it's coming for you, Candy." And then your brain locks on to the thing that's about to do you damage. What if I hadn't had my firearm that day? How many what kind of damage would have been done? Would I have been like screaming as this dog ripped chunks out of my leg or whatever until those neighbors, the two guys that were two houses down, until they came to my aid? How many stitches, how many trips to the plastic surgeon to get damage fixed? You gotta think about these things. You gotta think about these things. Yeah, and it's not a warm and fuzzy thing. People are probably saying, "Oh, but Candy, that takes the whole, out of life. If you're thinking about horrible things happening all the time." Yeah, it does kind of put a damper on certain things, but I'm very, very situationally aware, especially now. Especially now. Yes. PTSD is just a wonderful thing. It makes you really, really situationally aware. Yes, it does. There you go. And here again for the hair fan club, it's actually about half the thickness that it used to be because, along with my hearing, I lost half my hair due to stress, thanks to you know who. Peace, people.